This is a breaking update, and by that I mean a breaking crupdate, a crow update. I really love doing that with words, but I've never had to say it out loud like that, and I'm not feeling very secure in crupdate, I'm going to admit. Audio-wise doesn't work. Anyways, Lightlark 2 has been announced. It's here, and on International Hate on Lightlark Day, and I really do say that because Crimson Rogue and James Tullios released videos on Lightlark today, so it's very fitting that this is coming now. Lightlark 2, we all knew it was coming. I'm honestly really surprised that it took this long for information about it to drop, because this was something that already, like, the moment it came out, it just burned bright and then died instantly because it had such a negative reaction that, like, why wouldn't they... You want to put that out as quick as possible because this is something that is built on hype. It's going to die on hype. Like, I don't know how good book 2 is going to do. Book 1 obviously did really amazingly well because it was overhyped, and then it really, really sucked, and I wonder how sales figures look for that. We'll just never know because of the publishing industry. Book 2 is going to be interesting, especially since this is definitely at least like a trilogy, and it's a signed deal for 2 books. We'll see about that 3rd book. Anyways, book 2 has been announced. It's called Nightbane. Nightbane, it's a fine title. It's also like a World of Warcraft pet, and that World of Warcraft pet looks so much sicker than just anything Lightlark related. And that does kind of continue the trend with these goddamn names, because book 1 was Lightlark, which is almost the exact same name as a Philip Reeve book called Larklight, and Larklight is really, really good. So, you know, God, this author really can't just not pick a book title that isn't something else when you Google it immediately and obviously. The cover for it is, let me just look at this now and I'm gonna put it up. I always really hated the cover for Lightlark. It's kind of this trend of covers that we have right now, which I'd like to call like a bunch of shiny stuff and nothing else. Superficially, the design kind of looks appealing because it has lots of high contrast and shiny things, but when you think about it for a little bit and look at it a bit closer, it just doesn't work. Nightbane, I really don't like this cover. Superficially, it's like, ooh, it's shiny and pretty, but then you think about it and it's like, oh, okay. The skull on it is comically small and weirdly shaped. Like, when you really think about how this is a skull wearing a little hat that's a crown at the same time, you get the idea, but that skull is like a baby skull, and the crown is just this lumpy bunch of, like, glossy JPEGs put together. The smoke and the twirls are just completely unfocused and confusing. I don't like these covers. I don't really understand people who are so forgiving about this kind of cover because it is just a bunch of really ugly, I'd call it tacky. It's aesthetically, it gets the job done, but it's tacky, isn't it? Anyways, I am here mostly just to tell you about the short summary for it and break the news, because when this book comes out, I'll have to read it, and I'll have to read it really soon after it releases, and I'm so not looking forward to that. It's coming out in November. I know that I have a blood debt to do that. I'm not going to buy it new, dear God, but to hold me over, I'd like to share with you the short summary, because it is probably one of the worst short summaries for a book 2 I've just ever seen. So here, hot off the presses. This time I really am reading off a screen. Okay. Oh gosh, okay. The seductive and action-packed follow-up to Alex Astor's instant #1 New York Times, #1 Wall Street Journal, and internationally best-selling novel, Lightlark. Oh my god, to call it seductive and action-packed. I mean, this is book 2. Maybe it's just a real step up in every way. Isla. You hear that? Isla. I know how to pronounce her name now. Isla Crown has secured the love of 2 powerful rulers and broken the curses that plague the 6 realms for centuries, but few know the true origins of her powers. Right off the bat, I mean, Has she secured the love of two powerful rulers if one of them is the extremely creepy, manipulative Grimm that she doesn't even like anymore? I wouldn't say secured the love of if I have, like, a stalker who I really hate and has been creeping on me this whole time and has been manipulated. I wouldn't call that securing the love. Anyways, now, in the wake of a crushing betrayal, Grimm, I nearly called her Isla again. I nearly did. Isla finds herself hungry for distraction, preferring to frequent Lightlark's seductive haunts instead of embracing her duties as the newly crowned leader of two separate realms. She's just going to nightclubs in this one, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Worse, her fellow rulers haven't ceded victory quietly, and there are others in Isla's midst who don't believe her ascent to power was earned. It wasn't. As certain death races towards Lightlark, and secrets from the past begin to unravel, Isla, no, that was correct that time, must weigh her responsibility to her people against the whims of the most dangerous traitor of all, her heart. Alex Astor's intricate world, it's not intricate. Oh, no, it's not. Intricate world expands after the riveting culmination of the Centennial Games, delving more deeply into Isla's memories of her past as her future hurtles towards two possible fates. Yeah, so that's nothing. That's nothing at all. When you look at this plot summary, think to yourself, wait, that's not a plot summary. That's a couple statements about what happened last book. And the only new information, really, that wasn't set up like last book so clearly and obviously is that Isla is really bad at being in charge and is just hanging out at seductive haunts, which I was annoyed enough that this island was full of whimsical teapot houses and chocolate shops, but now apparently we're having seductive haunts, which it's just going to be nightclubs, and it really does just hammer in how much she is trying to copy Sarah J. Maas, and none of us should be copying Sarah J. Maas because she's really not a good writer at all. But it's this absolutely lazy world building where she's just gonna be, I don't know, she's gonna be going clubbing in fishnet tights next, you know? This is the kind of fantasy that's just so unfocused on what it wants to be, and that is so reflected in this book 2 summary where there is no plot thread. The only thing that we know is what we can just assume because we just know all the tropes, and Lightlark is only tropes. Like, everybody knows that in this book, Oro is going to do something, God knows what. He's gonna be like, I've been keeping a deep dark secret and there's a bunch of shadow demons that I'm secretly working with or something like that, and I suck now. So that, you know, Isla will then go back to Grimm and it'll be like, oh no, I love you still, even though you're the bad guy, because we're just going to do that one Sarah J. Maas book again, beat for beat, where the previous love interest who was fine suddenly turns out to suck, so that the one who was really not fine can be completely redeemed and excused of all actions. How is this book 2? What is book 3 going to be? I don't know. I'm really curious. I'm not really that curious. I can't stand this series. I don't think about this series unless I have to. I have not, Googled it, and I have not been engaging with it on any degree. I just sort of refuse to because it really tires me out as a whole concept and kind of just fills me with ennui. But I am curious how the effect of the negative feedback has hit the author, because I don't think she can exist without having engaged on some level with the fact that she is not a good writer. Like, the amount of negative reviews that she's had has to sink in somewhere, no matter how much money. And I'm kind of wondering, like, is she gonna suddenly hammer down this book, and even if her writing will be drastically different, like, maybe the plot will just make a normal amount of sense, and it'll be just like, wow, she really did try. Like, maybe she's gonna set up a plot arc somewhere in this, so that book 3, if we get that, has some semblance of a normal story structure. But honestly, don't know. Anyways, it's 2 a.m. Do you like my haircut? It's really weird that everybody who's seen my videos has known me as a fairly long-haired person because I've been a short-haired person my entire life. And this is actually my normal true look. Yeah.